and welcome back to another episode of Faith and Grace Life Talks Podcast. It's your girl Cece, and I hope everyone is doing well. Today is the day before Thanksgiving. Yes, praise the Lord. Yesterday, me and my husband celebrated 25 years of marriage. And I know I told you guys that we were dedicating this month. I was dedicating this month to topics on marriage. So today, I don't want to say it's the last episode about marriage, but for now it is, right? It'll be for a while. We'll kind of change it up a little bit as we continue with the rest of the episodes. And so, this month, every episode of the month of November was dedicated to marriage because I knew that me and my husband were approaching 25 years and I just wanted to, share some things, share some wisdom, drop some gems, some knowledge and some things, right? So today we are talking about breaking generational cycles in your marriage, right? So this is a much needed conversation because a lot of us unknowingly bring some things into our marriage that we don't recognize is a cycle from something we have saw on our childhood, and we bring it right on into our marriage, not even being aware of it or recognize it. And then I'm gonna tell you, I was firsthand experience with that, right? So I have experience in that. And I had some stuff that I brought into my marriage that came as a cycle, and I repeated it in my marriage. And, I had to seek God about it, and he showed it to me, but we're going to get into it, okay? So basically today we're going to talk about and how to recognize those cycles and patterns and how they impact our marriage, and most importantly, how God gives us the power to break them through him, right? Because we can't do it on our own, okay? So I want you to take a deep breath. I want you to relax, right? So let's get into it, sis. So what are really generational cycles? What are they really, right? I like to describe them as like things that you hand down, right? You know how we hand down the kids, like we might get some clothes from our older siblings and they pass them down. It's the things that we pass down, right? That's what it be. And sometimes the things that we pass down ain't always cute. If you ever experienced getting some hand-me-downs and they wasn't cute, now I don't have an older sister sibling. I do have an older brother sibling, but I don't have an older sister sibling. So I don't think I really had anybody to pass me down anything, but I think that my sister did get some things, but mostly not. But she's experienced that, I believe. And I think I may have probably experienced from maybe older cousins. I don't know. I don't really remember. But anyway, I just kind of want to share that that's how I think about, right? What is a generational cycle? Something that you're passing down, right? And here's the thing with generational cycles, I don't want to use the word curses. That's a whole nother episode for another day. But here's the thing with generational cycles. They're repetitive. They repeat. And a lot of times we don't mean to pass them down. We're not intentionally trying to pass them down, right? But they still end up in our life. They still end up, And maybe you grew up yelling because you grew up around yelling, right? Maybe you bring the spirit of shutting down, being quiet in your marriage because that's what you saw growing up. Maybe you're passive aggressive. You could be a passive aggressive. You just don't really say anything, right? You have passive aggressive behaviors. Or maybe you pretend everything is okay and it's not. You might sweep it under the rug and just pretend like it don't even exist, right? All of those are unhealthy. And maybe you saw some unhealthy communication between your parents. Here's a good one. Maybe you thought that you had to earn love. So now you're doing everything you can to earn love from your spouse, right? And, we know that that's not healthy as well. And then some of us may have learned that emotions are a sign of weakness if we show our emotions. But we know that the devil is a lie. And we know that those things are not true, okay? And now that you are grown, you're married, and now you may notice that you were acting to your spouse in ways that might even surprise you, okay? And I want you to know you're not crazy, okay? You're not broken. It's just these things happen when we have situations that go on in our marriages and they're unaddressed because we don't recognize them and we're unaware of them. But today, sis, we're going to talk about how to pray and seek God so he can show us these things, and we can get on with the breaking these generational cycles and patterns and things, right? So we won't continue passing this down. It stopped with us, okay? It stopped with us, right? So I want you to learn, first of all, how to become aware of your triggers, right? One of the most powerful steps in this is breaking of the generational cycles is simply one thing: being aware of it or recognize it, however you want to say it. You recognize it or you are aware of it, right? That's the powerful thing, because once you recognize it, once you are aware of it, the next steps are to move forward with breaking it, okay? So you can ask yourself some questions such as, what am I repeating in my marriage that I saw growing up? Okay? What am I repeating in my marriage? Why is it that I shut down, right? Or where do I shut down at? What happens to make me shut down? Where do I overreact? Why am I always overreacting about things, right? We want to get to the root of these triggers, right? What makes you feel unsafe even when your spouse isn't trying to hurt you, right? And I'm more so talking about verbally, right? You may feel unsafe as in, I don't feel like he's gonna make me safe, so I'm not going to bring this issue up. And so, or maybe y'all having a conversation and he's still not trying to make you feel unsafe or anything like that, but because y'all having a conversation, all of a sudden you just feel like, you know what? I feel like I can't. So all of those things are the things that we're talking about on today, that we want to learn how to figure out where did they come from. We want to reflect. We're going to pray. We're going to ask God to show me, Lord. Show me me. Show me, is there anything in my childhood that I may be repeating and that I have brought into this marriage and needs to be cut off, okay? Because we want to cut these things off so we will not pass those things down to our children and our grandchildren, okay? And I have to be 100% honest. I wish that half the stuff that I know now, I wish I knew and understood these things back when I was younger in my marriage. Because a lot of these things over the past maybe 5 to 10 years, I say, begin coming to my mind. By now, my kids, by the time I'm recognizing a lot of this stuff now, my kids I got a grown child, and then I got 2 more kids that's becoming grown at the time. You know what I'm saying? So then, they all grown now, but I'm just giving you an example of like when a lot of these things, the Lord began to reveal to me and show me these things, and I begin to see these things. Now my kids are, they no longer little. They on the verge of couple years from actually being grown, right? And so, but I praise the Lord that he was able to show me. And even though now my kids are grown, I still can have conversations and have had conversations, you know what I'm saying, with not all, but some of my children, especially the one that's married. I do have a daughter, my oldest daughter, which is married, and we have had these conversations, okay? And so, yeah, I want to put this out here. So, maybe your kids are small. Now is the best time to recognize these things and to deal with these things and to cut them off so we won't be passing these things here down. Okay. So I want you to be aware of your triggers. I want you to ask yourself those questions. A lot of times our spouse triggers an old wound, but not a new issue. Okay. I'm going to say that again. A lot of times our spouse triggers an old wound, not a new issue. Right? And when you can recognize that, the whole dynamic changes, right? You stop fighting each other and you actually begin to fight the cycle. You begin to break the pattern, fight the pattern, okay? And that's what we want to lean more towards, okay? We want to give ourselves permission to learn a new way, right? Sis, you ain't obligated to repeat the things that you learned in your past, in your childhood. You don't have to repeat those things. I know some things we bring into our marriage because we be like, this is what my mom did. This is what I saw my parents do. But everything that we saw, sometimes we're unaware until we get grown, right? Wiser, AKA wiser, is that we don't really recognize that, oh, that was actually unhealthy. right? We thought it was healthy because we thought it was normal. But the reality is some of those things are actually unhealthy and they're not normal, right? And they don't bring your marriage any peace and joy and love that it's supposed to, right? We have a tendency to think that this is the way that and so this is what I'm going to be, right? And again, we want to recognize those things, but we want to give ourselves permission to learn new ways, right? Let's learn how to communicate in calm and safe ways, even if your home was full of yelling, right? Maybe you can learn some emotional intimacy, even if the love wasn't expressed in your childhood. Some of us have gone through childhoods where the love wasn't expressed from our parents, to us. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't love us. It's a difference between them not expressing it, but still loving it. You can love somebody and not know how to express it, right? They still loved us because they did everything for us as far as like taking care of us, making sure we had a roof over our head, food on our table, clothes on our back, you know what I'm saying? But, some parents didn't know how to express true, genuine love to their children, right? We want to learn how to be open and honest and vulnerable. Even if you grew up learning how to stuff your emotions down just to survive, right? We want to learn that healing is a process, right? And that during this phase of our life, we want to learn how to learn and grow, right? Let me share a quick moment with you. So not too long ago, I ain't gonna say not too long ago, it was probably during the time my kids were in high school. My husband actually revealed to me, I don't say he revealed, he began to point out that he felt like I had a controlling spirit, right? And it was one of those things that I was most definitely in denial about, because I was just like, no, Cerise or Bob, I rebuke that. I don't have a controlling spirit. Okay, we not gonna put that on me, because I don't have that. And one day, I was in prayer with the Lord, just praying, minding my own business and telling my business to the Lord, which he already knew. So I ain't gonna say mind my own business, but you know what I mean. I was just in prayer. I wasn't even really thinking about what my husband said. But in prayer, in the process of prayer, the Lord brought it to me. Actually, what happened was, if I remember correctly, I believe we had a conflict. And I don't think I was praying about the conflict, but I think it just came to my mind while we was in prayer or whatever. And that's when the Lord revealed to me about what my husband had been saying. And I was kind of like in shock, right? So when he revealed it to me during my prayer time, I repented, you know what I'm saying? And I remember crying during that prayer time, because when he showed it to me, it kind of caught me off guard, you know what I'm saying? And I began to cry. So when I, finished, my prayers and crying out to the Lord and everything, later on, I actually had a conversation with my husband. And I actually shared with him what the Lord revealed to me. And so then I apologized to him. And once I apologized to him, I began to think about that thing a lot. And then my mindset was like, okay, I got to change this. I can't keep going forward with this same thing. Like it really shocked me, because when I tell you I was in denial, I really was in denial. I was just like, when my husband pointed it out, but when the Lord showed me, it broke me. You know what I'm saying? Again, I cried. But again, it's one of those things that, sometimes we're just not aware of until a little later on in our marriage. You know what I'm saying? Maybe for you, it may not be that he's sharing it with you through your spouse. Maybe it's something that he just revealed to you, through prayer time, or maybe through someone else. You never know how he's going to show you. But if you ask him to show you, he will do so, right? And a lot of these things that we bring into our marriage, again, I mentioned some of them earlier about the yelling, even the ones to pretend that things aren't happening. Pretend that everything is okay. You know what I'm saying? Something happens, a conflict take place, and you deal with something, and then you just be like, okay, well, you know what? I don't feel like arguing about it, and you just, or I don't want to talk about it or whatever. And so you choose to basically sweep it under the rug, or act like you're okay, or act like it doesn't exist. That is unhealthy. That is unhealthy, sis. Now, I will say pick and choose your battles wisely. And, I just want to kind of incorporate that to let you know, pick and choose your battles wisely. That ain't what I'm talking about, the little simple, minor, minute things. I'm not talking about those things, but I'm talking about the big things that actually need to be addressed. But you have a habit of not addressing them because you have a habit of basically pretending that you're okay. You know what? I'm all right. I ain't even gonna worry about that. But in honesty and reality, you're not, because you were constantly thinking about it. And then over time, bitterness begins to grow, take root in your heart. So we have to address the important things that's concerning our marriage, but coming from a place of respect and love. So it's so many different things that we may have saw in our childhood that we begin to bring up. And in today's episode, y'all, I just really want to talk about us learning how to be aware of them, how to seek God, and how to give ourselves permissions to learn a new way, right? To learn a new way of communicating or handling the things that we have brought from our childhood, to break those generational cycles, right? That's what we want to do. So we want to start off after we become aware and we realize that we got to, change this stuff with the help of the Lord, because we can't do it on our own, right? That's where prayer and all that stuff come in at. Fasting if you have to, whatever it takes, right? We want to ask God for healing, okay? We want to start off by asking God to heal me from this. Heal me from this, right? The key is generational cycles aren't broken by willpower. Again, you can't do this on your own, right? They are broken by identity and revelation and by God's grace, okay? We can pray and ask God, like, show me, Lord, show me what is mine to release, right? Show me what is mine to release. You want to release these things. We want to let them go. Heal the parts of me that were shaped in pain that I'm actually bringing to the table in my marriage. Heal that, Lord. Heal it. And break what needs to be broken. Break what needs to be broken and build what needs to be built, okay? Those are just some simple prayers that you can ask the Lord in our healing time, right? We can interrupt the enemy, right? What he thought was going to continue on and we was going to pass it down. Sis, we here today to interrupt that by cutting that thing off. Yes, ma'am. We're cutting it off. We are breaking these generational cycles by cutting them off, right? And so we want to include our marriage. We want to basically know that these things that we break off and cut off, that they will prevent the passing down onto our kids and our grandkids. That's what we're doing, all right? And we want to prevent that. And that's what's going to happen when we begin to break those chains, right? And so we want to choose some new things, right? Once we recognize the old patterns, begin creating new ones, right? Begin creating new ones. Let's say instead of shutting down, practice speaking up respectfully when it's needed. Again, pick and choose your battles wisely, ladies. But when it is needed, we will practice speaking up respectfully, right? Instead of reacting in anger, yelling, getting smart, hitting below the belt, saying all that stuff, we want to take a pause. We want to take a deep breath and go into prayer if you need it, okay? And instead of withholding affection, because some of us will do that too. We'll withhold affection. We're going to lean in to try to connect with our spouse. And honey, let me tell you, when you're in a mindset of you don't want to show affection, that could be one of the hardest things to do, to lean in and try to connect more with your spouse when you don't want to, okay? That is very difficult to do. But we want to change and train our mindset that that's what we're going to do, because the enemy, okay? The enemy don't want you to have a connection and affection with your husband, honey. He don't. He want to break that all up, right? But it's up to us to recognize these things so we can say, the devil, you a lie. You not going, you ain't going to do that. So we will then begin to lean in to the connection and the affection. Y'all don't hold back the affection. Again, I know it's hard to do, but we can do it. We can do it, right? And instead of assuming the worst, we can ask questions with love, okay? We can ask questions with love. The goal here isn't perfection. It's progress. It's intentional progress. So it can help us to grow again and cut them cords, cut them chains, right? them cycles. We're going to break them. It's going to help us, right? Every time we respond differently, even in a small way, we are breaking the generational chain. And I am here for it, because we ain't trying to pass this stuff down to our children and our grandchildren, okay? We're going to break these generational cycles, okay? That's what we're here to do today. But it starts with reflecting on us and seeking God and asking him to help us and show us in these areas and becoming aware. I told y'all the most powerful thing in doing this is becoming aware of it and recognizing it. Because then once you do that, honey, God gonna help you do the rest. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. I want to remind you that you are not your husband's enemy. Okay? Y'all ain't each other's enemy. Right? Generational curses can make you feel like you always fighting each other. But the real enemy is the cycle and the pattern. The generational cycle and the pattern. That's the real enemy, right? And the real mindset is the enemy and the mindset, right? In the old womb. Those are the enemies, right? These are things that we learned years ago. We have bought into our marriage, and now we are trying to shift our perspective, right? Instead of you saying, why is he doing this? Say, okay, what is the root here? What's really going on? Let's get to the bottom of this, right? When we both begin to see the patterns instead of problems, compassion begins to arise, and compassion creates healing and grace, ladies. Gotta have grace. Y'all, let's bring back grace for our spouse. We gotta bring back grace for our spouse, okay? We are trying to build a new legacy. We ain't trying to pass down generational curses. We trying to build a new legacy. When you heal, you just don't change your marriage, honey. You change the future for your family line. Think about that thing, okay? You ain't passing that stuff down to the children no more, okay? We're going to create a home filled with peace, with healthier communication, emotional safety, spiritual unity, and a marriage that will model God's love. That's the goal. Okay, that's the goal, ladies. Your children, your grandchildren, they will benefit from healing because they will have never had to fight what you have, because you made the decision to break these chains. I told y'all in the beginning, it stops with us. I think I said that, but if I didn't, I'm saying it now. It stops with us. We end it here, okay? We're not passing this stuff down. That is powerful. We ain't passing this stuff down. We ain't here for it. No, 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 no. Devil, you a lie. Get on, get to stepping. Get out the way. Get thee behind me, Satan. Okay? So, I hope this episode has blessed you all. I really do. It has blessed me. Again, y'all, we are passing down a new legacy. Not a generational curse. Not a generational cycle. Not a generational pattern. We are building and passing on new legacies, new things to our kids, new healthier things. We're going to have these communication. We're going to have communication with our kids. We're going to teach them this, right? Not just by speaking it to them and talking to them, but also modeling it with our spouse. Okay, ladies? So again, I hope this episode has blessed you. If it has, please share it with another woman, another sister, another friend. You know what I'm saying? So they can get into this and hear this. I pray it blesses them too. If you like this type of content, y'all, please hit the like button. I would love to hear from you, right? Because today's episode, we ain't repeating we are no longer repeating what we came from. We are rising above it. And God is going to walk with us on this journey, right? He's going to be with us every step of the way. Yes, he is. So again, I would love to hear from you. If you are watching via Spotify, hit that like and that follow button. If you are watching me on YouTube, I say watching on Spotify, you can't see me, but if you hear me, okay? But if you see me on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you like this type of content, hit the like button, hit the share button. And again, comment. I want to hear from you, ladies. We are here today. Today is the day. If you listen to this while you was riding down the road, if you listen to this while you was in your house cleaning, whatever it may be that you was doing, you tell yourself today that it stops here with me. Lord, you have given me the power, right? Lord, you have given me the strength to redirect and to change and to cut this cycle, this generational cycle, and to change the pattern and to pass down legacy to our children and grandchildren, okay? So again, ladies, I thank y'all so much for tuning in and listening. And until the next episode, you guys continue to have faith and show grace. Bye.